Is this a metal thing?
Yes. Little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Break.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert. This is back country.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Plus. That's right, folks. We've now transcended genre boundaries and sometimes cover other movies. For years, we've been living a lie, been telling ourselves that we're only attracted to horror movies, but we've come out as proudly polygenre. So make sure you rate and subscribe on iTunes. Full video available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Make sure to share. Also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk, the equivalent of the adult section at your video rental store. You always want to know what's behind that curtain.
Oh, man,
so just,
what's back there?
Pay the fee and get what you want. If you want to add your pee to the community pool, go to horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail. As always, we have Fart Simpson crammed into the production booth. I'm Bryce, and across from me sits Island Boy David Day and special guest Jen Ponton. Jen is a comedic force, consistently serving up big laughs on screen, a Muppet enthusiast, horror fanatic, and queer fat activist. Star and screenwriter of the new horror project Caretaker, which can be found on all the short form video platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. Welcome, Jen.
Thanks so much for having me.
I should have the applause. There we go.
Thank you. You're too kind.
Yes. So, thanks, Jen, for joining us. Just need to take a minute and kind of describe. We left our listeners hanging, 3 episodes ago now?
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Kind of left like a big cliffhanger for horror movie talk. And
they're concerned. They're worried. Everything's going to be okay.
Up
Your
all
parents
night.
are just fine, kids.
So, just to let listeners know, and new listeners, I guess, we're reformatting. We want to keep Horror Movie Talk going with the brand, but we're just expanding into other genres. David is just not able to watch, hard horror movies anymore. It's not good for his health. And so we're not getting rid of David. We're not throwing him out because we love him. And he owns half of the podcast. So instead, what we're going to do is it's going to basically be about half and half. We'll maintain half the episodes. This is like the rule of thumb, really. Half the episodes are going to be horror. David may or may not have watched it, depending on what the movie is. He'll be on every episode because, he'll still be able to crack wise on the spoiler section, and depending on how far off topic we go. And then we'll be able to do other movies like, I can make David watch True Lies finally, or we can expand out into other areas. And so everything's fair game. That includes on our Patreon stuff, like the Patreon picks or the pretentious episodes. But really, we explored a couple different options, and this was the best one for everyone, and the best way to maintain the quality and the brand of Horror Movie Talk. But Horror Movie Talk is no longer, it's dead. Long live Horror Movie Talk Plus.
Yeah, look, you guys, listen, y'all, you watch regular movies too. Don't act like the only thing you ever take in is, Guinea Pig 2, Flower of Flesh and Blood. That's absurd. You sit down and enjoy yourself some Star Wars. Well, guess what? We do too. And now we're going to bring it to you. So, we're starting with Wayne's World for this month's pretentious review. So, very excited to cover that today.
Today, we got a great show. We're going to be reviewing new release Evil Dead Rise. And if you're new to the podcast, we start by giving a brief review and our score for the film. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. After we give our score, we'll have a delineated spoiler section where we take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can press pause, go watch it, and come back. We'll have a big, flashy, music cue and video cue for you to bounce at that point. Later on, we'll be checking our voicemail, which has been growing since we haven't had an episode in 3 weeks. We finally got through all of our backup audio episodes.
Yeah, to be clear, we have had episodes the last couple weeks. It's just we've used ones that we pre-recorded.
Right. So from back in...
A year ago.
Green
Room was recorded a year ago.
Green Room we were doing the Kiggins shows. That was like what the Afterpod was about. It was how pissed off we were at the owner of Kiggins.
Yeah.
We did like a couple live screenings at a local theater in Vancouver, Washington, and it went really well, but was a huge hassle.
Sure.
Okay, let's hop in to the movie. Evil Dead can be found in theaters now. I assume it'll eventually be on HBO Max because apparently they were going to do a joint release, but then decided that it was too good not to do just the theater. Evil Dead Rise continues the story of Deadites just trying to live their best life and those meddling humans that try to ruin their fun. In this latest entry in the Evil Dead franchise, two estranged sisters, Ellie and Beth, played by Alyssa Sutherland and Lily Sullivan, awkwardly reunite in the midst of personal crises. Before they can work out their issues, an earthquake strikes, and Ellie's children discover a hidden ancient tome and mysterious recordings of a priest reading from it. Oh. If you've seen any of the previous Evil Dead films, you know where this is going. They inadvertently release flesh-possessing demons and have to fight for survival. It does not go well. This is a very strong entry into the franchise that expands the world outside of just a cabin in the woods, like the 2013 Evil Dead. This film foregoes the majority of the humor that the original trilogy featured. Not to say that this film is completely humorless, it just goes hard into the body horror and torture porn. This film has some of the wildest and darkest scenes I've seen in a long time. It makes you all but certain that no one is safe from the Deadites, even up until the end. What I appreciate is that despite the simple nature of the horror, that being trying to escape or kill scary demons, the film does give stakes for the characters and changes up the setting in a unique way. Instead of disposable slasher teens, we're shown a loving and functional family. When one of them is preyed upon by the demons, it hurts, and it adds to the disgust and the terror of the moment. Alyssa Sutherland chews up the material and spits it out. It's unsurprising that most of the trailer featured her. She's a delight to watch, and the vile and manipulative things that the script gives that mother are the most compelling parts of the movie. Overall, this film really brings it. If you're looking for a supernatural, gory horror film, this one pulls zero punches. I really liked it.
Wow.
For what it was. Like, it did not seem like it compromised its vision at all. And for this type of movie, this type of horror movie, it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Dang, that's high praise coming from Bryce. Hey, Jen, I'm curious, what is your previous... are you a fan of Evil Dead, or is this your first entry in the franchise?
No, I love Evil Dead.
Wow.
I haven't watched the show that they put out over, a span of some years, but the original 3 I've seen a handful of times a piece, and I was excited about this one. I don't remember if I saw 2013's. Was it good?
You would remember it.
It was good. Yeah, it was really strong.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I saw that one. So I'm presuming that I didn't, but yeah, I would agree with Bryce. This was very much strong canon, felt very familiar, even though we're obviously missing Bruce Campbell, who is, the heart and soul of it. I I really, really liked it. My only complaint would be that they went so hard into saying that this was the scariest movie that would ever be made on the face of the planet, and I didn't agree with that. I found it to be standard Evil Dead level scary.
Right.
Okay.
You know?
Not so scary, maybe more shocking.
Shocking, gory, for sure. I mean, just like a bloodbath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of marketing, like, they did a pretty good job, and, like, the whole thing where it's like, this is the scariest movie ever, it's like, you can't, that means nothing to horror fans, because it's like,
Right.
they'll say that about The Nun 2, you know, as well as The Exorcist. Like, they'll say, like, The Exorcist is the scariest movie ever, and it works, you know? People are like, well, shit, I gotta go see that. And then they'll say it about, like, you know, The Conjuring 8, more Conjuringer. And people will be like, sure.
Right, of course.
Well, it's the thing you want, right? Like, as a horror fan, you're sitting there like, I just want something to be scary. And then the commercial comes on and it's like, the scariest shit you've ever seen. And you're like, oh, maybe it's finally going to happen. Maybe I'll be scared again. And then, you know, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also, like, we've talked about in the past, like, scary is, like, a pretty shitty metric for deciding whether it's a good movie or not.
That is so fair.
Like, there are plenty of fantastic horror movies that I wasn't scared by, but I
Right.
was disturbed by or affected me, like, viscerally. So, yeah. And I mean, just the fact if you're like, I'm watching a movie as an adult, I'm like, I'm not scared. Like, it takes a lot for me to jump at this point. Not to brag, but
Or to make a challenge.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I think
well-
the marketing did a really good job of, like, setting it up as, like, this is going to be intense and hard to watch, and it actually delivered on that part of it, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to scare me now, you gotta do a realistic portrayal of water damage in a bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like,
The Ring was terrifying.
oh no! Oh, that's gonna cost at least $3,000.
Oh, God. What do you mean my insurance doesn't cover it?
Oh, no.
It's gonna go up. The premiums are already.
Yeah. Speaking of advertisements, if you ever hear any commercials on this show, you should know that you don't have to listen to those if you go to our Patreon. We release our episodes as early as they're edited without ads. So if you're one of those people that hates being interrupted with inserted ads, you know, it's a small fee to, you know, for that convenience. Go to patreon.com/horrormovietalk. Also, if you want to support the show, we have a shop at horrormovietalk.com/shop. You can buy cool tees like this one, Team Spear, or our logo tee, which I guess will have to be updated at this point.
Or the Team Bat shirt.
Yeah.
You can also buy that.
Also, check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel, on Instagram. He's at dgoebel00, at DGOEBEL00. Been doing fantastic artwork for always, like, since he started, but really stepped up for our YouTube videos to, like, include our faces. And
I gotta text that guy right now. You're reminding me. I gotta poke him about doing stuff for me because he's so good.
so if you need to commission any artwork or look at what he's done in the past and you know, get a birthday present that's unique, contact him on Instagram. If you want to contact us and leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. Thanks again. Let's get into... Where's my cursor? Let's get into spoilers. Okay, so now we can talk about anything.
Jen, can I ask, what is your history with the horror genre?
Totality.
So everybody can get acquainted with you and your taste.
I have been a horror junkie since I was far too early exposed to Child's Play. My dad invited me to come and sit down and watch a movie about a doll when I was 5. And that began a terrifying trajectory of
5.
adrenaline. 5.
Jesus.
5. Yep.
Oh my God.
Actual truth. I don't know where my mother was.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
feel
And
so
I
sorry for
saw.
little 5-year-old you.
Ooh. But then I was like, this feels awful and great. So I went on to watch Nightmare on Elm Street also far too early. Watch It, the original miniseries, far too early. And spent the entirety of every good moment of my youth in the horror, VHS stores at at our rental space, and obsessing over like Troll 2 and Dr. Giggles and like all the stuff that came out and played on TNT over and over. when we were
Wow,
kids.
so kind of a deep cut horror fan here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Dang. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a common story, like, of
Yeah.
a decent portion of our listeners of being exposed way too early. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe some of these parents,
I know.
like,
Right.
making them, they're like 10-year-old watched The Exorcist is like, Jesus.
Oh, my God.
What is wrong with you? Because I've got
Oh,
a
a little
10
girl who's 10. I'm like that. Oh, no.
Poltergeist, same thing happened with Poltergeist.
Yeah.
I was very young
I mean,
when I first watched
Poltergeist
it.
is a little more understandable. Still terrifying for a kid, but like, at least they're not, shoving crucifixes up their
That's
cooch.
fair, yeah.
I mean, I've got a 10-year-old daughter, 8-year-old son, and a 5-year-old now, and like just gauging, putting Colin in front of Child's Play
It would not
just
end
seems
well.
like insane to me.
Or Pet Cemetery.
Yeah. Because my kids, like, when they're younger, they're really scared. Like, if there was anything just like in a Disney movie that was emotionally charged, they like ran out of the room. So I'm
Right.
like, I mean, were you a scared kid? Like,
I was
did it really affect you?
terrified. I was terrified. Right? And like your children don't have to grow up with the animation of Don Bluth, right? I
Right.
figure we're all about ballpark the same age. And, like Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and like, what was the really creepy stuff? Like the Black Cauldron. We had very disturbing movies
Watership
even
Down.
for little kids. Yeah! Watership Down. Oh my God. Or like one of my all-time scarring favorites was the 1985 version of Alice in Wonderland that was like a 2-day event on ABC, and they
You
put
mean the
the
live, the stop motion one?
No, it's live with actors and everybody's got really crazy costumes, but they put the Jabberwocky in this special, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, I think you just unlocked a core memory. Like
I'm
the
sorry,
Jabberwocky
and you're
scene was
welcome.
terrifying.
It's so scary.
The one that got me that was on TV was Return to Oz. That was
Yes.
messed up. Man, the 80s were just like
Yeah,
unhinged
Return to
when it
Oz.
came to like children's entertainment. Just getting my daughter to watch Labyrinth was too much. It's like, no. This is not made for children. Look at
definitely
David Bowie's crotch. That's not for 10-year-olds.
It
I
really,
would
like, it
argue
wasn't
with
too
that.
far to fall from 80s children's entertainment to, like, inadvertently watching Child's Play. You
Right.
know, it was an easier bridge to cross than it would be now.
Yeah.
I feel like this is an appropriate time to share my everybody's heard this maybe once or twice, but it bears repeating. Like when I was 4 or 5, my parents had that big satellite dish, and so we had hundreds of channels. They
Oh my
were just
God.
they were just all unlocked, and so a 4-year-old goes wakes up at 4 in the morning, and walks out and starts surfing through the channels. And I landed on what I assume was Cinemax, and there was we were in the middle of a showing of Frankenhooker, which is
Of course.
which is a incredibly violent and sexual. It's almost a porno, but it's also a gore fest. And so, like, little 4-year-old me is like, what, like being exposed to like every single thing that would blow my mind all at once. And by blow my mind, I mean like wreck it.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's like my formative memory is like being like, what is this? And that's how you got me.
Good old
like,
Skinamax. Always blending genres in the most creative ways.
very fun. Very fun. Yeah, I'm looking at this 1985 a rendition of Alice in Wonderland. I've never seen this. I've never heard of it. The Jabberwocky looks horrifying.
It is terrible.
This looks like a worthwhile thing for people. I've never heard of this, so bravo.
Look at that cast list.
I will.
Friggin', who's in it? Ringo Starr is in it.
What?
Like Ringo Starr, Steve Allen. I mean,
Red buttons.
it's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. Very worth a watch, and I think it still probably would be within your horror threshold at this point.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Before we get into the movie, I'm actually kind of curious about your project, the Caretaker. I watched it on TikTok, and I was wondering like how you came up with that. Like, what was the inspiration, and what was that process like?
Have you seen Burnt Offerings?
No.
Oh, strong recommend. From like 76 or 78, somewhere in there, so late 70s or like just the cusp of 1980. And it's a film. Betty Davis is in it, in like one of her last appearances. Karen Black and Oliver Reed, and it is taut. And basically, Caretaker came to me from sort of this desire for like a prequel of that, and it's about that movie is about this family who's like trying to get out of New York for a summer, and so they stay like somewhere in the Hudson Valley, and they're given the property for a song. It's like $900 for the entire summer. The only catch is that they have to also watch over these people's mother who lives in the attic and like just leave her meals. She doesn't really want to interact with them. And so weird things begin happening in this old, shoddy, falling down manor. Like wallpaper starts regenerating and dead plants in the atrium come back to life, and like and the roofing sloughs off and revitalizes itself. The siding, like everything on the property is almost as if it's feeding off of a life force, because as Karen Black's character becomes more like of a caretaker for this mysterious mother in the attic, the house is like siphoning off her life force. And I have loved this movie for a while now. It's so creepy, it's so effective with really good performances, and I kind of wanted to do a little prequel.
Sounds like Barton Fink in reverse.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's a trip. And so my director Jody and I were wanting to do a film that would be really self-contained, like not a big cast, just me, one location, not really having a crew because we're only using a phone and like what's around us. And I was like, wow, what if this is kind of like the birth of this house? What actually happens here? And what's going to happen to my character at the end of things? So it was inspired by that, and a little bit like House of the Devil, which is another favorite of mine. And you know, the same kind of stuff starts happening when I get to this like rambling old Victorian house in Cape May on the off season. Like nobody's around anywhere, and this house starts to like take possession of me.
So how do you think the like the short video format adds to it?
I think it creates a compelling way to keep picking up the breadcrumbs. Like they're not just going to happen for you. And because Roz, my character, is also like an influencer. I mean, she's a shitty influencer, but she's an influencer. She has her own TikTok account too. So there's a little bit of a meta world happening as she has regular followers who have no idea because they don't have the cinematic vision. They just have like her 2-camera, you know, like silly dances and you know, recipes and all of that. So as things start to go wrong, that account that has no context is just like vastly chaotic. But if you're watching the movie and you realize that she's tagged, you can like see this parallel experience. So it feels a little bit more like a choose your own ending book or like the way that Sleep No More is crafted in New York, where you kind of just like walk through a building and whatever actor you happen upon is like the story that you get. That's sort of what ends up happening with this. And I think that creates a fun puzzle if people are willing to interact with it. And when they have, it's been like, holy shit, what is happening here? Oh my God, get out of that house.
Nice.
That's been fun.
Well, yeah, it was fun. It was interesting. Like for me, I watch it. I'm like, I mean, this is such a rich format. Like, I'm surprised more people don't do it. And then I realized, like, the whole story of Quibi was basically that, and that failed miserably.
I know,
but I still think it would work. Like,
yeah, me too.
Quibi,
it's just got to be. It's got to be the thing that people already have on their phones,
right?
Right?
Yeah.
Poor Quibi.
Poor Quibi.
R.I.P. Quibi.
Do you know what Quibi is, David?
No, I'm just sitting here like, what is happening?
So Quibi was this brainchild. I think it was it Ratzenberger?
Oh,
it was someone like in Hollywood, but they were investing like millions, if not billions, in this new platform, which was going to be short form, like high production video content, and it had like Steven Spielberg had a series. Was going to have a series.
Yes,
on
I do
it,
remember
like,
this. I do
all
remember
this stuff,
this.
and it was just going to come out right at the pandemic.
Yep.
The pandemic happened and just fucked it up royally because the whole
I remember
the whole premise was like people will watch it while they're on the bus or like commuting or like
so sad.
you know, in between moments and stuff, and like, and then all of a sudden everyone was at home and didn't need to pass time on a commute and could just go do anything else they wanted during their workday.
and it was only for your phone. It wasn't like
only for your
Netflix where you
phone,
can watch anywhere. Like, yeah. It
So
was just
TikTok just took it.
Right.
snatched it right up.
So like Vine, but you had to pay for it. It's a great idea.
Yeah. So bringing it back here, I want to. We have a pretty good friend of the show for many, many years, Max Allen, and he texted me the opening night of Evil Dead Rise, and he said the following. So I mean, I'm gonna maybe edit this a little bit, but it's pretty much a quote from Max. He says, in opposition to both of you. He says, I know you probably aren't planning on seeing Evil Dead Rise, but, like, seriously, fuck Evil Dead Rise. And I was like, what? And he said, it attempts to touch on concepts like child death and familial homicide, but does so incredibly horribly that it's insulting. I would be totally interested in a movie that wanted to assess those concepts in a tasteful way, but this movie was basically like, quote, hey, this character is a mom, so you should care about her. And, hey, this character is pregnant, so you should care about her. And then proceeded to use those boring characters to kill their children. So stupid, so infuriating, a waste of a movie. I'm going to edit that part. I'm also starting to think that you were right in forsaking horror movies. So, well, but that has nothing to do with anything other than to say, but we'll start with Bryce and then go to Jen. How do you respond to those criticisms? Is that fair, do you think?
No, I could see how that, I mean, it is to a certain extent exploitative of the setup in terms of like the mom and the pregnant woman. yeah, there is a bit of a built-in, like, you should be concerned for them because of that. To me, I think it works, taking into account that what these movies are, like, if you've seen Evil Dead before, like, it's not going deep into character development. It's not going deep into, like, the backstory of everyone. It's setting it up, and, it's like setting up the pins and bowling them down. And this just took a little more effort and creativity to set up something other than disposable teens in a cabin, which gets points for me. You could definitely take more time to set up the family, like if you did it a la Poltergeist, or like treat it more like a Spielberg film where it's like we see the family life and see the normality and that to like really lull you into what's going to happen in the future. But if you did that, this movie would be so cruel. Like it'd be so mean to viewers to like really make you care a lot about each of the characters, because they do some really fucked up things to most of the family. I think in terms of just setting it up to be able to do those things with the the set pieces that are in the movie, I think it was fine. It wasn't distracting. It didn't seem exploitative to me. What do you think, Jen?
It's a really fabulous and fair point from Maxwell. I agree with you, Bryce, in that, like, you got to take it for what it is. You got to take it as an Evil Dead movie. Like, in Evil Dead, in the original, we knew nothing about any of these people. Just like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, terrible shit starts happening to them. And I think you're right. I think that if they had doubled down on the crafting of investment in these characters, it would have been so much more fucked up. And I kind of thought that that's what they were going to do with the way the trailer was crafted, because it hinges so much on this mother going postal, right? In a way that, like, the Babadook did in a very, like, that allegory stands up perfectly. This one, less so. And as I was watching it, I could feel like, oh, it's because I don't really care about her as a mom. Like, her kids are cool, but she just feels like me, and I don't have children. Like, she's just got a bunch of tattoos, and she's an Etsy person. And she's sort of, like, absently parenting, and she's like, hey, siblings, take care of the little ones, which is not a critique of her. It's just like, I don't think of her as this person that they should trust with everything yet. And so the turnaround from it when things go sideways is less impactful, because I'm like, well, it's not like I watched you rock them to sleep. It's not like I saw them turn to you for their needs. Like, everybody's kind of self-sufficient, and that does make it less of a, less of a cruel and horrible thing. But I feel like if they really wanted to lean into the allegory and, like, the social issues, they could have committed to it more, because you could feel like they're trying to say something about single moms. They're trying to say something about divorce. They're trying to say something about, like, well, I guess we don't technically know if it's an unwanted pregnancy, but I'll just say that for the sake of it, right? And like, they could have made more of a meal from it, but it kind of just felt like the givens. And then it's like, well, here come the dead.
Right.
Yeah, you kind of don't really. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I think there's a good point through line in what you're both saying here, which is you don't necessarily want a whole lot of social commentary in your Evil Dead movie necessarily. Like it doesn't have to be like with a hard period on it. It can just be an Evil Dead movie, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, and the other thing is just like momentum, like, and velocity of the movie. Like,
yeah,
it's really not trying to waste any time. So
Yeah.
like in terms of like cutting down and getting to the stuff that it's trying to deliver, mainly just really fucked up body horror and like gore stuff. It doesn't waste any time getting to that. So let's start at the beginning. I really liked how the movie opens up. It's a really good wink to fans of the original series. It has like the Evil Dead shaky cam intro going through the woods. It's got like kind of the dead vision, and then it like starts flying, and I'm like, it's like drone footage because fans of like.
Does it do the audio?
No, I don't think it does. I don't know. Did it, Jen?
It did something else. It did sort of less of that growl from the original and more of like the echoes that you then hear, I think, on the LPs.
Okay. So, I mean, for fans of like the history or the production of it, like the shaky cam is an innovation from Sam Raimi, which basically they put the camera on a big 2x4 and ran through the woods. And so like if you're a fan, you're like thinking that as that intro is going through that they're running through the woods with like a 2x4 and then starts flying. You're like, oh, it was a drone the whole time. And then it ends up just being a drone. Like that was actually, it wasn't the dead vision. It was just someone flying a drone.
Okay. So it kind of double subverts.
It's a nice wink. And so, I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It opens up with a cabin in the woods with a bunch of friends, and one of them sick, and like it's a cold open. So I think there's three characters: the guy with the drone, some other girl that doesn't want to be there, and then a girl that's sick on the bed. And then she wakes up and throws up an alarming amount of, let's say, viscous white fluid. I'm not gonna say it's cum, but it looked a lot like cum.
Which is it, Bryce?
Who's to
To
say?
say.
I mean, you're kind of an expert, right?
I mean, Evil Dead. I mean, who knows what the demons are doing in there? And like, it's a pretty hard cut to all of a sudden this girl is like, you know, a deadite. Scalps the friend that doesn't want to be there immediately.
This is at the start of the movie?
This is at the start of the movie. This is like the first 5 minutes.
Wow.
And then there's also a decapitation.
Ugh.
And then the head's like still moving. It's pretty solid. Like it sets the tone for the movie. Like, again, they're not going to pull any punches.
You know how in roller coasters there's like two different kinds of roller coasters, right? Roller coaster starts, I should say. You know, there's the click, 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 start, you know, click, click. And it builds up some, the sound. You got all that, whoa, this is going to be a thing. And then there's the one that just rockets you out the thing, just shoots you. That sounds like the shoot
Pretty much.
version. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it shifts gears. We're introduced to Beth. She's a audio engineer or guitar tech for a touring band, and we're shown her taking a pregnancy test, assuming that she's pregnant, just from her reaction. I can never read those pregnancy tests anyways. And then
They don't work on you.
Yeah, and then it shows her going to her sister's house. The sister's Ellie, and she's got 3 kids. Teresa is the older sister, played by Mirabelle Peace. Caleb, he's the brother that's a DJ, played by Richard Crouchley. And then Cassie, the young girl, played by Nell Fisher. And she's... How old is she?
Oh, she's like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like the sweet, innocent face of, like, this movie where you're like, you're not going to kill the little girl, are you? Like, it sets up a lot. I mean, it shows, like, decapitation and scalping and, like, really fucked up shit from the very beginning. So you're like, is this movie going to kill a little girl and, like, cause an abortion? Like, and you're like, maybe. Like, that's kind of like the the question that I had throughout the whole movie is like, how depraved are we going? Because they set up the field to be as depraved as you can get, really. This was just my reaction. I don't know, Jen, if you felt this, but like I was getting very strong non-binary vibes from Teresa and Caleb. I'm not saying that they were non-binary characters, but they're definitely non-binary curious.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, those kids were definitely on the gender and sexuality spectrum. And they were really cool kids, and they were very like socially active and concerned in the well-being of each other, which was kind of refreshing. I feel like it's been a long time since you've led a horror film with that kind of sibling care, as opposed to like everybody's fighting and then we have to gang up together.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of unique because they're not a cookie cutter family, but they're obviously like very loving and supportive, and it's an older family. Like Teresa and Caleb are older teens at the very least, if not in their 20s, and Cassie is young, and so they're like, I don't know, it feels pretty real to me starting off, and it's not like it's not like a Spielberg family where it's like this is the ideal 50s type family. They've got character in their own lives, and it feels pretty rich.
I have a quick question. So this is billed as, a gore fest, and there have been some pretty notable entries into that kind of subgenre recently. The notable ones that are coming to my mind right now are The Sadness and Terrifier 2, both last year, right? So how does this stand up in that regard to, let's say, those two movies? And have you seen either of those, Jen?
I haven't seen any of the Terrifiers yet.
Ugh.
Or whatever preceded Terrifier, right? That anthology.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it yet. Clowns are not generally safe space for me.
Fair.
What did Pennywise do to you?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Everything on earth. Yeah.
What's your opinion on Pennywise? Like, are you Tim? God,
Yeah.
Is it
yes,
Tim Curry?
It is. It's Tim Curry. I mean,
Tim Curry or Bill Skarsgård?
For what it's worth, I think Bill Skarsgård is spectacular. And I think that
I'm into him too.
Oh my God, he's great. He's great. And what Andy Muschietti did for those movies, like he did that story so right. He like made up for all of the ways that ABC like failed the original miniseries, which I still think is very strong. But also, I think Tim Curry is essentially a god, and so there's just they are apples and oranges, but it's like your favorite organic shiny apple and like a really good orange. Still really good.
Yeah. Fair.
One won an orchard contest, and the other one was a runner-up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm heavily in the Tim Curry camp. I mean, that's like the only truly great part of that miniseries is Tim Curry's Pennywise and
so good.
How good that character is. Anyways, as far as on the Terrifier
where
spectrum,
does this sit in the Sadness Terrifier?
Gore spectrum?
It's actually very, very similar. Like it is.
Wow.
Like I would not say Terrifier went any harder than this one necessarily.
Are you
honestly.
serious?
Well, we'll get to like a couple of the set pieces. I'm kind of interested in getting to the point where, because if you're like shocked by scalping and decapitation, that's like not the worst, most shocking thing that happened in the film. So yeah, I mean the main difference is just way higher production value in this one. Like they can do a lot more.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember The Sadness? You know, like.
It's I mean, as far as like the one scene, sure, maybe not anything quite that shocking, but nearly.
Wow.
Like,
Right in there.
yeah, it does not. I mean, in terms, if you're looking for eye trauma, the sadness and Evil Dead Rise got you covered. So there's a scene. I'll skip ahead a little bit. Where it's really going off the rails. Like the mother is locked outside of this apartment, and there's this hallway massacre scene between like her and a bunch of the other tenants in this rundown apartment building. And one of the main effects was she bites the eye out of a guy's face and then spits it into another guy's throat, and he chokes on it. So, you know,
Some
do
good
with that
old
what
Evil
you
Dead
will.
horror
Yeah.
comedy.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like the Matrix of horror movies.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the one thing that I'd say about like the production design, and kind of lines up with how they set up the family, where it's pretty gritty. Like it's not like cookie cutter. The apartment complex, they set it up as being condemned and going to be torn down in a month. So like they're in the midst of moving. The family is, and I think this is like one of my gripes that I've expressed on most like Conjuring or like kind of lower effort horror movies. Like this apartment building definitely suffers from spooky house syndrome, where it's like the production design just makes it look like it's the scariest, spookiest house in the world, and we're supposed to expect that like these people are just living in it. I'm like, yeah, this is fine. Like, it does kind of lean into it a little bit, because it talks about how, you know, the vents are haunted or something. Cassie, the younger sister, is shown like wanting to defend herself from the ghosts that are haunting, and has one of my favorite parts. She has Staffney, which is a little doll's head stuck to a staff to protect her from the ghost, which, you know, Team Spear comes up later. And in terms of like all my Team Spear fans, there's a great scene later where she stabs one of the Deadites through the head with Staffney. It's pretty great.
So, Jen, there's a little, if you're picking up on some vibes here, there's a little underlying current going on. Long time feud between Bruce and myself about Bryce and myself about in the event of a zombie apocalypse, if you were given the choice of a manual hand weapon,
Yeah,
something.
A melee weapon, non-firing, like melee weapon.
Well, the question
Hand-to-hand
is,
combat.
what would you choose? Zombie apocalypse, and so I go with bat because it slides off. Everybody has a bat. It's easy to use. And Bryce falls on spear for various ridiculous reasons. Do you have a preference that maybe outside of those two, or do you maybe desire one of those two?
My first thought would have been like, I don't think it's a cat o' nine tails, but like a mace, right? So like the bat with the giant spiky iron ball on it, or a giant axe.
A people pleaser is what you are. You're just trying to find the middle ground. And by the way, it's not a bad idea. It's pretty.
You got to go with what you trust you could use with some efficacy, right?
Yes.
My
what I'm
depth
saying.
perception is shit. I would be so done with spear. So done.
This is one of the many arguments against the spear camp. Thank you.
All right, Jen. Well, let me argue the Spears point. As many of our listeners have heard ad nauseum, like it's all about damage at a distance and, keeping zombies at bay.
Yeah,
If you got a horde of zombies, do you want to be able to stab them multiple times while they're 8 feet away, or do you want one swing at one when they're 2 feet away?
And kebab them?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. You getting your shit stuck.
Yeah, everyone says like that spear would get stuck. Like, it didn't
Why
really...
would everyone say that? Is it possible that they're right and you're wrong?
No, it's the children who are wrong.
Classroom after classroom of ugly children.
So next, the next story beat is there's an earthquake. A little ham-handed with the reveal of the Necronomicon, but the earthquake reveals this underground bank vault. They find these LP recordings and a tomb. It's a little unclear. So they uncover like a bank, I guess, which you could make sense of. Like, there are underground cities, like in Seattle and Portland, like cities built on top of themselves. Yeah. Who knows? There could be an old bank down there. But then it has like a stone mausoleum inside the bank, which is not common. But don't worry about it. It's got a bunch of crucifixes and charms hanging over it, and it's cracked open, so they take out the Necronomicon. It is kind of the Necronomicon from it's similar to the one from the 2013. It refers in the recording that there's 3 of them, and I think so far we've seen 3 versions of it. But the thing is, this one doesn't have any of the creepy faces on it, which, to be honest, was a little bit much. If you're gonna have the spookiest book in the world, like, maybe not put faces on it if you want it to be believable that people are going to crack it open and start reading through it. I will say that whoever skin made this book must have been pretty swole, because it was very veiny on the cover. And then you got like the setup, the normal thing. The one difference is who is it? What's his name? Caleb plays the record, and you know what's coming as a viewer of Evil Dead. But the difference in this part is he tries to stop it, as a rational, sane person would do if you have a book made out of skin with like creepy demonic pictures, and then you hear a priest starting to read from it. You don't play it. You stop it. And he genuinely tried, but the Deadites had sway over his record player, I guess. They took over the DJ capabilities. And then the Deadite is released, flies into Mom while she's in the elevator. I'm kind of rocketing through this. But
I do have a question.
Sure.
For both of you. Okay. So, what kind of person are you? Would you be okay? You come upon you're in this scenario.
Bad. Oh, sorry.
You're in this scenario. You're showing up. You see this stuff. You're in the bank vault. Curiosity's got you. You're down there. Then you see the Necronomicon. Would you and the recordings? Would you be able to stop yourself? Knowing what you know, you've seen these movies. Would you be like, this stuff isn't real? Like, what's your actual getting into your analysis of the thing? How would you be able to listen to it, or would you nope on out of there?
I feel like I would have to look at the book. Like, that's I don't think I would out loud say incantations. I think that's where I would stop. It's unclear whether just reading it would do it. Would you have to say it out loud? Because I don't think I would.
One
but I would
could
definitely
argue that the book would find a way to make that happen, though.
That's true. I am surrounded by idiots.
And children.
And children.
The children are why this happened in the first place.
I stand by what I say. Yeah.
I don't know. As someone who used to own a Ouija board and had one weird experience, and then nope, you could not pay me enough money to revisit it. So if I happened upon that tomb, absolutely not. turning
Okay.
right around.
Can I get you to regale us of this, or is that off limits as well?
No, no. I was using it alone, and I had some strange plancard action happening, and it didn't like.
What's that?
It's the is it
Ouija board.
plancard?
How do you make a
Planchette?
Ouija board? How do you feel about Ouija boards? How to Ojo board work?
No, what is
How to Ojo board works.
Yeah,
Jen.
how to Orjo board work, Jen?
to not do it at all? To put that shit away.
What's a planchard? What did you say?
Planchette? Maybe that's the name, and that's
It's
like
the little
that's
thing
the
that
pizza
you
pie.
put your hands on.
Oh,
pizza
okay. All right. Go on.
Right. And like I grew up next to a cemetery. So there was definitely always like the sensation that there was activity nearby if I wanted to tap into it. And I just noticed that like it was going places that I was not trying to get it to go. So after that, I put it away. Thanks, Parker Brothers. But I'm going to pass. And same absolutely goes for the Necronomicon.
Okay. Now you.
Yeah, I
can,
kind of love the fact that like it's a board game put out by a major brand. It's like, do you want to tap into demonic forces and experience the afterlife?
Parker
Well,
Brothers brings that to you
Parker
for
Brothers brings you Ugu board,
Waweg board,
Waweg board.
Ouija board.
How we can do planchette without using Ouija board? Is it dangerous to play Ouija board? Ouija board? My
Ouija board. This is a recording. This is a man reading from Yahoo questions. People attempting to spell Ouija board.
Have you ever seen this before? Is this
No!
It's
Ouija
fabulous.
board is cussing me out. Is the Ouija board online fake or real? It's the Ouija real game. How we can able to play Ouija board? Ouija board or whatever? How do I find out if they're a ghost in my house without using a Ouija board? A Ouija board game? What happens? When I was a kid, I used to mess about with a quiche board. Waweg board.
No.
Is that how you spell the evil game thing? Waweg board.
No, wow.
Wegboard.
That's great. Thank you, Internet.
Ouija. Quiche board.
Quibi.
Yeah, yeah. I used a Quibi board.
Quiche board.
So we're given kind of an homage to the forest rape scene from the original, and I think this was kind of in the remake too, wasn't it? Anyways, the mother's in the elevator, and then all these wires jump out and wrap her arms and legs. And then we're shown basically what we're shown in the trailer, which is the mom turning into a deadite and being just kind of awful to these kids with the quote, "I'm finally free from all you titty-sucking parasites," which is a great quote, by the way, in terms of just, putting it out there.
Being real with her feelings.
Yeah. And then it's just straight ahead, like, special effects set pieces with a big culmination in the end. Like, I think we covered the hallway, the eye. There's like the first thing, I think the mom has like this shard of a mirror and stabs it through Teresa's hand. And then, we're kind of explained through the recording that there's not really any way to kill them. Even dismembering them doesn't really stop them. Like, the only solution is to run. And eventually Teresa and Caleb are infected. And there's a couple...
Now hold up here. Now you say infected. I'm not quite. I'm not understanding. They're being infected with deadite.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of loose with the rules. I mean, the same with, like, the original. Like, they don't really over-explain it. Just all of a sudden, one of them is now evil.
Like, if a deadite kills you in some manner, they have sprinkled a little dead dust on you.
Right. I mean, even Teresa, like, she wasn't. So yeah, this is the thing. Teresa just starts spewing black oil from her orifices.
What does that mean? Orifices.
Like her eyes and her mouth just start like spewing.
yeah.
And it's not like dark blood. It's like definitely black oil
Ichor.
stuff. Yeah, it's like the X-Files oil. And then she just starts going at her family. And they kill her with Staphne. Kill her with Staphne. And tie her body up, but she's definitely like a deadite now. And
I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no real explanation of why she was possessed. I mean, she was the first one attacked by the mother, I guess.
She gets a scratch on her cheek that's almost like a...
oh, that's right.
Right? So like when... I don't think it's a tattoo gun. I think it's a soldering iron. I think it's right because she does like jewelry welding. So when the mother tackles Teresa and we have this really terrible like cornea to sharp hot thing proximity, she ends up scratching her cheek, and then you can see it sort of like undulating with black stuff underneath as though it's like an infection of the dead.
Yeah. And then Caleb...
Now hang on. How is this hitting you, Jen? Like through are you delighted or are you disgusted as all this stuff is happening?
Pretty delighted. Pretty delighted. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not terrible with gore. I'm pretty good with gore. The thing that makes me like climb a wall is dread. And I would say one of the more unsettling things that they built into this movie that we didn't have the benefit of just for, budget and tech in the originals is that when Ellie turns into a deadite, you have the like K-horror sort of Walking Dead shuffle of like really strangely paced, like some frames are sped up, some are slowed down, some are deleted, and I always think that kind of movement is fucking terrifying.
Yeah,
so
it's like the joints that are all movements, like all joints can move whichever way,
right? Right. So that freaks me out far more than someone just like spewing and spewing and spewing.
What are the dreadful movies that come to mind when you go, the things that make my skin crawl? What are those?
Oh, God. We've talked about Terrifier, but did you guys see Terrified?
Uh-huh.
Oh!
We constantly mention this one as like really terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Terrifying. Terrified was so good, and that was a really effective dread movie. Hereditary? No, I'm never ever watching it again. I can't believe I already agreed to watch it a second time just to make sure that my like 20-year-old nephew would deal with it okay, because he was like, I'm so excited, I'm gonna watch Hereditary. I'm like, I don't think you know what you're getting into.
Dang, girl, you're like dead in our lane, like exactly in our taste.
Yeah, I mean, Ari Aster, are you looking forward to see Beau is Afraid?
I am, and I'm going in totally blind. I haven't even watched a trailer. I know that the reviews swing wildly.
Yeah, I mean, I look at like the reviews as being like completely polar opposites. I'm like, okay, this is a good sign for me.
I know, right?
Is it a horror movie?
No, it's not exactly.
It's a feel-bad movie?
It's a feel-bad movie, I'm pretty sure. Ari Aster is not like, a happy-go-lucky guy in terms of his film output. But it's more of like genre bending. It sounds like a drama or fantasy kind of thing.
I'm thinking of Ending Things, Lane.
I was just thinking of that one, which I haven't watched yet, but I heard that same tonality coming out of it.
Yeah. Thinking about Ending Things is probably the most depressing movie I can think of, in terms of And actually, like, do you have a background in theater or like musical stuff?
Of course.
Like, have you seen Oklahoma?
No, but I'm very
No?
familiar
Oh,
with
okay.
it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things. There's a couple like literature and like pop culture references in that movie that if you don't understand how it's using the tone of those things, it doesn't quite translate. But like for some reason, like the key to that movie was knowing what Oklahoma is about.
Yes.
So maybe watch Oklahoma before you.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, this is, I forgot what we're talking about. It's dark.
Dread.
This movie is dark. Yeah, this has that dread in it in terms of like again, no one feels safe, and like it's not going to obey the rules. It's kind of interesting. So the mom is infected, and she's like locked out of the apartment, and so they kind of replicate the trope of Henrietta being locked in the basement in the first one, with the mom being locked outside the door, because we see her looking through the peephole and communicating to them inside and mocking them. The mom is trying to act like, or the deadite mom, I guess, is trying to act sweet to get the young girl to open and trick her. And then she's talking to Beth, her sister, which is another quote, "Open the door like you open your legs, you stupid groupie slut." Which is pretty hard. And then she gets in by climbing through the vents like a cat. Sorry, David, what did you say?
I'm just going to be clipping that a little bit,
And then one of the most effective scenes, like effects for me, which was also the simplest, was Teresa attacks Beth with a cheese grater, like a box cheese grater, and just like slams it on her leg and pulls it up her calf. And it's like, out of all the things, like eating an eye, spinning it, like scalping, decapitating, it's the cheese grater on the leg that disturbed me the most. It's like, ow, I can feel it. I can feel it in my leg.
It's like, it's the thing that you're most cognizant of in the kitchen. Like, oh, hold this the exact right direction so that I don't slice 400 pieces of my skin off.
Right.
It's like a Lego on the floor.
Oh.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
Awful.
Sure, you can get stabbed with a butcher knife, but I mean, you don't get the surface area of pain receptors like a cheese grater.
Oh.
So the end of the film is basically, okay, this is where it like ramps it up, because we've seen a bunch of like set pieces and effects, and then it's finally just Cassie, the young girl, and Beth, kind of our main character, that are survived. And there's a moment with Beth and Ellie, which is a callback to the previous films, where she's got her pinned down and she says, "I will swallow your soul," which is a nod to the previous movies. And then she looks at her and says, "Two souls?" because she realized that she's pregnant. And this is where it's like, okay, how far are they going to go on this? Because then Ellie starts digging into her abdomen. How did that land for you, Jen?
I thought they were going to go further. I really did. I felt like they got some notes and they pared it back. But yeah, like I figured if they were going to lead with her saying that, they were going to go all the way. So I was not super disturbed by it, because I was kind of like prepping myself for even worse,
Yeah, I mean, I had visions of, deadite fetuses dancing in my head. Like it really felt like that was a possibility, that they were going to do a extreme abortion in this movie. and and they didn't.
Dude, I don't know how this movie hasn't been thought of, but patent pending extreme abortion. Like
Unrated.
Extreme
Yeah.
Is that or a show on
abortion.
TLC? God help us.
Dude, that's
Right.
that's a great metal band name. Extreme abortion. Man.
Yeah.
Bravo, Bryce. You did it.
So instead, she makes her escape. But yeah, I mean, thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, there's no way that could be in theaters if they actually did something that
Right. Of
intense.
course.
I mean, it would not get an R rating. Like you would get an X rating.
We could also have the
Definitely.
option for an alien-like abdomen burster, if somehow, right?
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, the possibilities were bloody and endless.
You know,
Right.
I don't think an X or non, now what they tend to do if it's going to get, an X rating or an NC-17 rating is they'll just leave it unrated. I don't think it's the stake in the coffin that it used to be in theaters. I mean, it might be. I don't know.
No, in theaters it definitely still is.
Yeah.
Like in theaters they just won't show it. Like it can't.
Cowards.
I mean, chains like Regal and AMC just won't show it wide release, unless like it's special cases art film and they'll have limited release. But it's definitely, I think, a death knell for theatrical. But in terms of streaming, like it wouldn't hurt at all. Like no one cares. Like how often do you even check the rating when you're streaming stuff? Only when you're going to show stuff to kids, I guess. Not in Jen's parents' case, but most parents.
Dude,
Right.
I mean, it's so close to home. Like, let's take a movie about a doll. Like, this girl's gonna like dolls, you know?
Yep.
A little
Hey, Jen has
kid.
been really into those My Buddy ads.
You want to watch a movie about a toy? Come on over here. It's a toy movie. And then just like, nope. That's so crazy to me. How'd you do?
I mean, I remember as a young kid, for however many years it lasted, laying in bed and staring up at the top of my dresser where there was just like a large plushed Mickey Mouse, a large plush like JCPenney Christmas bear, and like a few other things. And thankfully they were all stuffed animals. So I didn't have any dolls that were larger than a Barbie. Thank God. Because yeah, if I had had a My Buddy, I would have been so fucked. No, never.
Or Teddy
ever.
Ruxpin,
Oh, I did have a Teddy Ruxpin. Yeah, he probably sat up there too. And I I fell asleep watching them. Mm-hmm. And then, just at some point succumbing to the sleep needs of a small child. But yeah, I mean, it stuck with me.
Rough.
Stuck with me. Real
Poor
rough.
little girl. Oh, I feel so bad for you. Like,
I know.
She
right?
turned out okay.
I turned out all right.
it's just like
Took
I
my
can
lumps.
imagine. Like I can just imagine that experience, just being like shit. Like
This is why I have not yet, and I don't know if I can ever bring myself to, watched Skinamarink.
Oh,
listen.
have you
You're
ever?
safe.
Oh, you know what you're describing when you're laying in bed looking at the corner of the room. Like you've already seen it.
You've
You know
seen
how
the whole movie.
You know how you're terrified that something's going to happen, but nothing ever happens. and
Every
it's
night of
just
your
the
life.
corner of a room.
You did it.
You did it.
You braved the movie.
You've already seen it
Sometimes
every night when you look up at your ceiling.
Yeah.
It's
Sometimes
Skinamarink.
Sometimes you go to bed in different rooms, different corner.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You did it.
Yeah.
Well,
We're all clapping for you.
I'm so proud of myself.
So the culmination of Evil Dead Rise in terms of like the body horror and the like the finality of it is this great set piece where I think it's just her kids. So Ellie has been basically like had her leg and arm cut off, And then Teresa and Caleb, Deadites, crawl up to her and start digging their arms and feet and whatever into the mother's body until they become this abomination of limbs and heads.
Deadite transformer.
Yeah, it's a Deadite. Yeah, it's like it's like Deadite Voltron. That's what it is. They're like the five lions combine into mighty Voltron. It was the three Deadites combined into the mighty.
And then the guys from the
three-headed
hallway,
abomination.
the other people who died in the hallway and lived in the building.
Did they latch on too?
I
I
think
couldn't tell if
so.
it was just the three of them or not. So yeah, I mean, it was this many-limbed, headed creature that starts scuttling after him. And Beth and Cassie are in the basement, and I didn't catch it. I think one of the through lines of all the Evil Dead movies was Sam Raimi's car. It must have been in the basement, but I'm not sure if it was the car that they're trying to escape in or not. But they're in the basement parking lot, and they eventually make their escape.
It's a Buick. It could be. I think it's a Buick. I remember them like very specifically getting a good shot of the hood ornament.
Evil Dead car. Was it? Because it was... Yeah, it could be. I thought it was a station wagon that they're in. Was I wrong? I mean, this is the Oldsmobile from all the Evil Dead movies.
Nice.
And this is like literally Sam Raimi's car, and it's in every Evil Dead. I'm not sure if this is the car that they were getting in or not, but it might have been. This is the problem with watching a new movie. I can't go back and rewatch it. But they do finally make their escape, and then the epilogue is basically showing that, hey, remember how this is a multi-story apartment building? Well, there's people on the other floors, and one of them is the girl that we saw in the prologue. So, I mean, all of this happened the day before what we saw in the prologue, and so it's kind of like showing that it's not over with the Deadites, and we're all fucked. So, final recommendations, Jen. Who do you think would like this?
Definitely fans of the original series. I think also, people who are into gore. If you like a good gore fest, it will live up to all of your expectations, all your hopes and dreams. I also kind of felt like if this was the stepchild of anyone, it would be of The Evil Dead and like Wreck or Quarantine.
In the confines of a place.
Right. Yeah. Not found footage, but in the confines of an apartment. Yeah.
I gotta say, the last note you have here is, I will give it credit for not aborting the baby, and that makes me feel pretty good about not seeing this movie. I gotta tell you, I feel like I made the right choice, and I'm happy that you two are both very happy with having seen this movie.
Yeah, it goes hard. It goes hard into the paint, this one. So yeah, I definitely, while I was watching, I was like, yeah, David would not like this movie.
Was there wanton nudity?
No.
Oh, man,
Not at all.
Seems like a waste.
It was a very sexless film.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the kids.
Yeah.
And
you gotta
then
keep that away.
Yeah, and like both of the adult women are painted as mothers, and so like you take their sexualization away. Really, the only thing that's even remotely salacious is the way that a Deadite will talk to a woman, which is immediately to just like call her a whore. And so, but yeah, otherwise no, there's nothing.
Okay, this brings up another question for you here, Jen. We have both gone on record, and it's so there's this movie, Stranger by the Lake. It's a French movie, and it's just basically a gay porn. And it's like, we're like, please,
highly recommended.
More of this because like, I'm just tired of everything being so washed out. Like, just like, I want a lot more sexuality / nudity in movies of all kinds. Where do you fall on that? Or are you kind of more like, nah, maybe more conservative?
No, I'm on board with that, especially because there's a huge argument made for, or I guess against, the desexualizing of cinema that has happened because of Marvel owning everything. And it leaves so little room for us to see that huge element of the human experience, whether it's, done for like grindhouse features or whether it's like an Adrian Lyne film and, or like Call Me by Your Name or something. Yeah, everything has been really, really washed. And especially as an actor, when it's kind of the safest time in history for us to do intimacy on camera, because now like intimacy coordinators are mandated by the unions, and so like you don't have to worry about Brando being a dick to you. You can have a safe, consenting, professional experience and tell that story in a safer way than ever before. But now they don't think there's a market for it. So I'm actually on board. I think there should absolutely be infinitely more sexuality, especially because they're now saying like Gen Zers are having less sex than any of us ever.
Right.
I know. It's because there's no tits in movies anymore. Dude, that's what I've been saying.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a joint like thing between the Disneyfication of film, but also like it's gotten a lot more conservative. Like it's swayed back, and it's not from like necessarily the religious right on this side. It's like it's more of like, hey, are we exploiting women just by having a random tit scene in this movie? And
but my answer to that though is not less tits, it's more dicks. Right. I'm serious. Like why is the answer less of something good? Why isn't it more of something of the opposite? Like just bring it all
something
in.
Bad.
I do have to say, I saw a dick. I don't remember what I was watching. I saw a dick, and it wasn't bad, but it was so unexpected that I was like, no one prepared me for this. There was no warning and there was no lead up. Like,
look, it's a different tool. It's used for a different, it's a little bit of a surprise attack every time,
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But it does not to say it
when
doesn't
I see boobs, but it's a reaction nonetheless.
Yeah.
Because you get more of a ramp up when you see boobs.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
If you know what I mean.
No, yeah. I mean, Stranger by the Lake taught me a lot about myself, about my need to see a lot more wieners. And,
there you go.
And
how underutilized
sexual
50% of the population of the earth has one.
Mm-hmm.
What, are we just going to ignore that? Is that what we're going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
No, I'm bored.
Evil Dead Rise. I'm just saying, it's in the title. Why wasn't there a dick?
Right.
Fair.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's almost no male characters of incident other than Caleb, but even him, like, again, kind of on the spectrum there in terms of gender and certain presenting. So, like, not a lot of testosterone.
And it's interesting because I wasn't sure if I was like, oh, maybe they're making up for a lack of women in the original trilogy, but I also don't think that's true because most of the women turned into Deadites and become. I think there's only like one guy in the original who, gets deadified. So it's really not like an absence of female villains in the original,
Right.
especially because everybody becomes a villain in this one.
Right. Yeah, so my final recommendations is in line with Jen. Like, if you like, hard gore, if you're kind of into body horror, it's got a little bit of that, but come for the effects, not necessarily the storytelling necessarily. But it's really good for what it is. If you're a fan of Evil Dead franchise, and especially the 2013, I think this is very much within the lines of those. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to our voicemail bit where we call horror movie whores.
Are all of those Danny DeVito?
All of those are Danny DeVito. We have a Sopranos based one too.
Oh my god!
The Sopranos one is arguably more interesting.
Yeah, I can't. I haven't been able to find it, but okay. So this bit, our listeners are horror movie whores, and they call us, and we answer their questions. So here we won't get through all of them. Jesus, we have a lot. But this is back in March 29th. This is probably around when we first revealed that we were having issues with David being able to watch horror movies, and so here are some reactions.
Becoming general audiences curious.
Mm-hmm.
Hey boys, it's Dick Mancrease. Listen, this voicemail is just for David and Bryce. So if you guys want to cut it, that's fine. It might be a little bit long, sweet person. Listen, boys, I'm listening to your 28 Days Later podcast, and you're saying stuff like, I don't know what the fans are going to think. You're right. People are going to be thinking, I didn't even make it all the way through the episode. I haven't made it to after pod yet. I'm totally going to listen to them. But you're right. Your fans are going to wonder what's going on. I've only been here for a year, give or take. Not even a year. And I'm a huge fucking fan. So I haven't been there. I haven't been riding with you guys like long, but I've been here for a hot minute, and I fucking love you guys. You guys are more than just a horror movie review show. I really think you are. If you were only a horror movie review show, I don't think you'd be as successful as you are. David, the fact that you may not want to watch horror movies anymore, does that suck a little bit? Yeah. But is it okay? Yes. You got to do what's good for you, man. You have to do what's right for you. I also feel there's shit that I can't watch either, man, since I've had children. And I know that we're not the same. No two people are the same, but, like, there's stuff that I straight up have refused to watch. And I don't even know if it's that distressful. I see, like, oh, there's a baby in this? And there's a guy, Cargo, for example. It's a horror movie on Netflix where a guy has a baby in a fucking backpack during a zombie apocalypse. And ever since I had children, I was like, I'm straight up not going to fucking watch that. I don't need that fucking stress in my life. I don't even know if it's that bad. But I fucking understand what you're saying, man. I get it. And listen, I support you.
Thank you.
If this is the end of the horror movie portion of horror movie talk, and you guys end up changing it up to something else, I'll fucking be there. I will fucking be there. And a lot of other fans will too. I just want you guys, both of you guys to know that I fucking love both of you. And you guys are so much more than a horror movie review show. You really are. If you weren't, then why the fuck would the Afterpod be so goddamn successful, Thank you so much for everything you do. I'm thinking about David, I'm thinking about you. Bryce, I'm always thinking about you too, big guy. I fucking love you both. Take care. Do what you have to do to be happy, both of you. And the fans will fucking be there. And if not, then I am truly grateful for everything that you have given us. Thank you so much, both of you. I love you. Later, boys.
A lot of kindness and understanding for a man named Dick Mancrease.
Yeah. Thank you, Dick Mancrease.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we sent people into a panic. There's a little bit of like, I don't know,
Salaciousness, sensationalism,
salaciousness, or just like just sick delight that I get from leaving people hanging for a couple weeks by putting a couple back end like.
Don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
See you later.
Is this the end of horror movie talk?
Will
Tune
our
in
boys
next week.
pull it out? Yeah.
All right.
For
Thanks,
the
Dick.
exciting conclusion too.
Here's one from Elizabeth.
Hello, fantastic people. It is Elizabeth. I'm just calling to chime in on the boobs versus dick conversation in your 28 days.
It's a frequent conversation.
Later podcast episode, whatever, blah, blah, blah. As a female, I'm going to say that, honestly, like, boobs don't bother me. I don't mind it at all.
They're great.
Do I really want to see dicks in movies? Not especially. I mean, I am straight 100%, but, like, I don't know. I feel like I just have to be in the mood to see a dick. You can't just be flinging that thing out and then expect me to get excited about it. You know, you gotta, you know, women are like ovens. You gotta warm us up. We're not microwaves like guys. So, you know, don't be throwing dicks in my face in movies. Boobs are okay.
You can
you
quote
know,
her on
I have boobs, and you know, actresses obviously have nice bodies. You know, they most likely have nice boobs. You know, fine, whatever. You know, I can appreciate the beauty of a woman's body. I have one. I appreciate my body. It's very beautiful. And actresses' bodies are also beautiful. So, yeah, I mean, I think personally, women boobs, fine. Totally fine. Dicks, you got to give me a minute. Like I said, don't be flinging that thing out at me. Cillian Murphy is the exception because he is just a Greek god. But, you know, maybe Christian from Midsummer didn't really need to see his dick. I could have gone without seeing that. But that's it. I'm sure most of the women in the horror movie group will agree with me about the whole boobs debate. I think it's perfectly fine. I think people making the argument that it's misogynistic and stuff are people that don't typically watch horror movies and don't appreciate that kind of thing. So, all right, later.
Thoughts?
Respect, Elizabeth. Respect. Overall, yeah, I think that's totally good. And I also think that in order for seeing a dick on screen to feel like seeing boobs on screen, no matter what you are, what sexuality you are, we need to be more artful with the way that we shoot dicks.
Yeah, you need a little more warming up. So I think the takeaway there is like you got to start out with some dick root, and you know just kind of see where the abs like point down to the dick.
Maybe we don't have to be so limiting, right? Like that look, V is insane.
Maybe pop out one ball out of the shorts.
No, now you're just trying to be comedic, you know.
Kind of have a tease.
Don't do this.
I'm trying to find solutions.
Don't
David.
cheapen it. Yeah, but you're doing it with like comedy, and I don't.
David wants real solutions. I think the real solution is just like when we see boobs on camera, there's like Vaseline on the lens. There's like softer lighting, like some kind of saxophone playing, right? God, it happens, and then you're like, I'm about to see tits. And then you see tits, and you're like, yes. Dude. So nobody does that for dick. It's
Listen, what are the situations where a dick is successful? All right? Let's look at those, and then we can reverse engineer this baby, you know?
There any?
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Look at all the people in the world, you know?
On camera.
Didn't just happen.
On camera.
Oh, okay. No, I'm talking about, like, just evolutionarily
in the world,
successful
definitely.
dick.
A dick is successful often.
Comes with some ASMR. Hang on. A successful dick achieves its goal when there's some ASMR involved, you know, maybe some neck kissing, you know, a little bit of, you know.
This speaks to Elizabeth's point, exactly.
Some caress, you know, maybe we got to get, you know.
This is a kid who watched Skinamax.
We could have like a 4D experience, like get more seats that are like vibrating a little bit.
Like that Bugs Life ride. The Bugs Life ride what's it called? In the Disney World, in the Animal Kingdom. where you feel the bugs running under your butt.
Right.
And then it sprays you in the face with some mist, and you're like, shit, what the fuck was that? And then it stinks in the room, and you're like, oh, actually, that's pretty similar.
Yeah, it'd be spot on for what you would need to.
You're like,
prepare
oh, it
people
smells
for
in
dicks.
here. Oh, I feel fingers on my butt.
What is that musk? I think I've realized like what the difference is. Like, I think I've cracked the code. We'll have to talk about this more in the afterpod. But I'm realizing like, okay, the difference is boobs are
they need no introduction, really. I mean,
they
not too much.
need no introduction, but they like okay. You think of it, they're contained, right? But then when they're revealed, it's satisfying. They're aesthetically pleasing.
Oh man!
And it's like there's that pop, right? We all know it. A dick, on the other hand, if you got it like cramped up and shoved in like some tidy whities and you pull down your pants, it just looks like a shriveled up little pathetic,
Hey, speak for yourself. Hey,
it's like a shrinky dink, You gotta put it in water and let it expand for a couple hours before you're like, oh yeah, that's nice. It's like, okay. I'm just saying, it's like you let it out of your pants and it's got like a couple moments where it just looks like a, Voldemort from the third Harry Potter or something. Yeah. It's not quite fully formed. That's all I'm saying.
It begs the argument, does it have to be hard in order to be filmed?
Right.
No.
That's
feels unfair to just say yes. Feels dismissive, but
yeah,
a legit question.
Yeah, is it fair? No. Is it needed?
Yeah.
Is fluffing needed? Yes. Okay, next caller.
Hey guys, this is Jeremy from basically Milwaukee. You've heard me on here before, maybe once or twice. This year and David talked about maybe you wanted to change it up a little bit and do something different because the way the films are affecting him. And hearing Bryce coming back about how, he doesn't really like to watch The Exorcist anymore because he feels those feels when it comes in waves. And I feel all of that too. I'm going to be 33 this year. And I've had a loss in my life, which is why my friend specifically asked me, probably don't watch Poltergeist. Good movie, probably don't watch it. Because I've had, a loss in my life. That was my daughter. And I totally understand those feels. And as I get older, I can't decide, am I getting too old? Is it because I've experienced the loss? Is it something in the water? I don't know. I know I don't appreciate it. So I can totally understand not wanting to subject yourself to those kinds of things and how they're going to bother you. Sorry, that's my baby girl coughing back there. Also, to that effect, the more you watch, the more you get... I get bored with it too sometimes, and at this point in my life, I get much more joy out of documentaries and listen to you guys talk. Listen to you guys talk about horror movies. At this point in my life, it's more enjoying than watching most horror movies. I listen to you guys. I listen to the Nightlight Horror Movie Club. I love them. And listening to both these podcasts, to me, is more enjoyable than half the movies I watch. That being a fact, I know you don't want to stop doing the podcast. I don't want you to either. I like to listen to you guys. I'm a Patreon member. I like to listen to you guys. That being said, I know you're going to come up with your own ideas, and what I say, doesn't matter in that regard. But I would like to see, this is an idea, genre movie talk. So it's not specifically only horror, and you do talk about other genre movies because they're much more fun to get into and pick apart, as you guys know. And you guys can throw in some gangster movies, just other genre movies that you guys can really get in there and dissect and pick apart the same way you have been. And I think most of us, at least for myself, I would enjoy that so much. And also it kind of gives you guys more opportunity to pick better movies if you want. So you're not so stuck in one genre, but it's all, genre-esque films, and then you could get into more things, and you could be pickier about it, and every movie is a good movie. Everything, you guys have interesting things to talk about. And, I guess that's it. I just want to, say hey and let you guys know that I feel all those same feels. I'm 33, probably the same age as you guys. I'm not sure where you're at. I think you're right around there. I've also experienced the loss. So
Sorry, it gets cut off. yeah, I mean, good news is, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. With Horror Movie Talk Plus, we'll be able to do other. It's so weird, like the phrase a genre movie, like because it kind of writes off, the quality of the movie just because it fits within a genre. But people look down on it. It's like, yeah, horror movies is like it's never going to win an Oscar. Like westerns or action movies or comedies, it's like, oh, the movies that everyone likes and goes sees, as opposed to just like these bummer movies like A Marriage Story. Like, I don't care how good it is. It's like, if you're going for entertainment, you're going to go for a genre movie.
Totally.
Thanks, Jeremy. Let's do three
really,
more calls.
Really appreciate all the support from everyone. We've received a lot of messages over Instagram, over all our social media, and these messages. It's real nice, everybody. Thank you.
That's really supportive.
Next up is from Kelly.
Hey, boys. This is Kelly Baldwin. I am located in central Indiana. Beautiful, rainy these days. Just got my hair rainbow colored. So I haven't called even though I've listened for years, and just wanted to say that, I found you guys because I was seeking a show to listen to on the regular that was really focused on horror movies, but at the same time, we're all people. And so it's really important to me, and I think to most of the people who listen and care about you, that you do what is best for you. So if you do make a change to format, just know you're not going to lose a whole lot of your audience because, even if I came here for horror movies, I stayed for everything else. So good to talk to you. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate everything you do.
Thanks, Kelly. And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what we're trying to do is like you come for the horror movies, but you stay for everything else. Like, because the everything else, like, that's the good stuff anyways.
The boobs versus dicks debate. That's what we stay for.
Spears versus bats.
Man, I'm just...
David's pigtails versus Bryce's slowly growing hair.
Oh dear. What? Oh, I thought you said
what?
I thought you said groin hair. I was like, okay.
Groin, yeah, my groin hair.
Jesus Christ, why is anyone listening?
And that grows very fast.
Yes.
Same. We used to have Manscaped on, but
oh yeah, that's true. I mean, once Manscaped dropped as a sponsor, like it
got
wild. I'm
crazy.
telling you what, it's a jungle down there.
And it's a little bit of a misleading name because Carrie used it. I'm just saying, it wasn't a big deal. I mean,
I don't think that's allowed.
It happened.
All right, a couple more.
Hey, Bryce and David. I am a fan. I've been listening to the show for probably about almost a year now. I'm not a patron yet.
Okay, never mind. Just kidding.
I'm sorry. I'm on a fixed income, but hopefully eventually I will be able to do that. But the reason I called, and by the way, you can call me Frankenclaw. There's a story behind that, but anyway. So I just wanted to, I'll try to keep this short. This is concerning David's recent point about not being able to watch horror movies anymore. And I suggest that he look into the works of Carl Jung. And Jung talks about the shadow, and I believe the shadow, that everybody has a shadow, and I believe, and as he points out in that, in his books about that, that, by facing that part of ourselves and addressing it, and I think that's kind of what horror is about. It's about facing that dark side of ourselves that we all have and being able to bring it into the light of day and deal with it. I think running away from it or trying to suppress it does not work, and I think it generally backfires. But anyway, I love the show. I just wanted to say that, and keep on keeping on. I hope you guys can keep doing the show, and I wish you all both well, and everything. And I may call again sometime. I don't know, but anyway, just wanted to drop that on you. Okay, take care. Take care, guys. Bye.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm actually pretty familiar with Jung, and I mean, I've been living that for a long time. Facing, I mean, I don't think it can be argued that I've watched a lot of horror, and it was for that exact purpose. It was to find out, what was out there, to face it, to look at it, to figure it out. But in doing so, I've done that. It has now become a redundant practice for me, and not only redundant, it's actually started moving toward the negative, where it's just bringing unwanted negativity into my my attempt at being a good dad for my little girls, and there's no reason for me, now that I've got a lot more faced a lot of those demons, and figured out where my mental health is and that kind of thing. Now I can take a step back from, I can kind of retire from having to subject myself to that constant, with the show, it's a constant barrage of that, so, it's not running away from it, or at least that's not the way I look at it. You may look at it that way, but it's not the way I look at it. Is just so much as, okay, we conquered that hurdle. I'm done with it. And I can, if I need to pick it up in the future, if I feel that becomes important, I will, so I do appreciate the critique though.
Okay, final call, Beyond the Grave.
Hey, it's Beyond the Grave. I'm calling about Scream 6. I finally saw it in theaters. I think it was just average. It was fine. It wasn't, I don't know. I was looking forward to it. I still wish Neve Campbell was in it. I know it'd be bad writing, but I feel like if she had ended up orchestrating all the murders from like Scream 4 to Scream 7, 6, I would have been okay with that. Why not? Why not? Or it's all been in her head the whole time. Shutter Island. She's in the institution. What's her face? That hot girl, Samara. At the first girl at the beginning gets killed. Are we to believe she's real socially awkward and having a hard time meeting people in a big city? Because that took me out of it. And then after that, what took me out of it was, and I think drunk acting is kind of hard to do, but when Jenna Ortega is acting real, like loosey-goosey, but going in between being sober and not sober, when that guy's trying to take her up to the room because he's like, I got a bottle in here, baby. I don't know. And what was the plan with what's her name, Bree, who faked her death? What was she going to do in the long term? Change her name, move somewhere?
That's a good point.
I just don't know. I don't know.
What a great voicemail.
Strong critiques of Scream 6.
Beyond the Grave.
Yeah, I mean,
Always
first off,
brings
saying Samara Weaving is like having a real time finding new friends in the big cities. Like,
okay,
sweetheart.
All right.
Like, is it really that hard?
For the wafy blonde girl? Oh, no. It's like,
yeah, I mean, just walk down the street, buy some construction sites. You'll make a lot of friends like, pretty quickly. Yeah, the other beats, like I wasn't drawn out by the drunk scene, but yeah, that's a good point of Bree. Like, what's the game plan here? It's just gonna relocate to a new city under a new name? Like, have you got a new social security number lined up? Because that's just straight up fraud.
Jen,
like,
did you
you might get away with murders, but you're not going to be able to get away with like faking a death.
Did you see Scream 6?
I didn't, but that's because I haven't watched the one that came before it yet.
Well, actually, no. This is one of the ones where that's actually a decent idea.
Yeah. I was really excited to go see it, and then I realized that a lot hinged on my understanding of the one that was made a year or two ago. So I am psyched to see it, and I've heard really good things. And clearly it's inspired a voicemail, so.
Yeah, the one last year I think was a stronger entry. But it wasn't terrible. Like you said, I agree with Beyond the Grave. It was pretty average.
Yeah.
Especially for the more recent Screams.
Okay, so I think we'll leave the voicemails at that. We'll get to the rest of them in a separate mini-sode eventually. Just want to thank everyone for listening. This episode was produced by me and edited by Fart Simpson. Thanks, Fart, for sitting in the production booth and making sure everything runs smoothly. Thanks to our patrons, our new patrons, which I should have had up by now. I want to thank them, specifically and from the heart. Dat M, Chris C, Jennifer L. I don't know how far back these goes. Ed B. I think that's about as far back as it goes. If I missed you, let me know.
I don't even know what you're reading from. We need to thank Jennifer L., Jessica C., Grant S., and probably Mitch P. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know where this.
What am I reading from?
I don't know. Patreon will occasionally do this thing where it'll just change things on you, and you'll be like, "What is happening?" Anyway, but if you've become a patron, thank you. You're the wind beneath our wings. We love you. Thank you.
And
Jen,
please
plug your things.
Yeah, Jen.
My things. You can go watch Caretaker right now. Even if you don't have a TikTok account, you can do it through your browser. And the main account is at Caretaker Film. And then Roz's parallel account is Cape May Caretaker. So those are available for you right off the reel. And if you want to see some of my other work, you can find me on Instagram at Jen Ponton or my website at jenponton.com. I got a show called 3 Women coming out later this year on Stars. Not entirely sure when. And I'm about to star in a very, very sexy drama called Resentment, where I'm going to spend most of the time doing sex scenes. So, as per our conversation.
Have you done it yet?
No, we start shooting in a month from exactly today.
Is there
not to be indelicate,
right?
But
go on.
I mean,
it's it's
do
gonna
we
be.
Do we see him?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Do you have anxiety about this?
Less than I would imagine.
Is there excitement?
I'm really excited to do it, actually. Yeah.
Oh, this is so cool to get to ask you that.
I know.
I don't know why.
I'm really excited to do it.
I just feel like that's so like what a cool thing for you to get to be excited about.
Totally. Especially because at this time in my life 10 years ago, I was I started in my last film that I led, and it was very Disney, very ingenue, and now it's all right, well, I'm on the cusp of 40 and a bitch has grown up a bit. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be intense and it's going to be a challenge, but I'm definitely game.
Well, you've been a wonderful guest. We thank you so much. And if people didn't have a reason to check you out based on all the cool stuff you had to say and all the the great opinions you had, well, now they definitely do. So,
hey, to each one's own, right?
Yeah. Check her out.
All right. Thanks again. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose.
travel through the scraggly woods.
He had no face!
Horror!
Wow, that didn't sound good.